session. You know, this type of events are very rare, when you get to learn and network with people. And I'm very honored to introduce our final speakers. If you have Instagram, you've seen David Meltzer. If you're a marketer, you know Dan Fleyshman. So I'd like to ask the two gentlemen to come up on stage. Honestly, I really want this to be something different where we ask questions, because I'm sure we all have questions to ask these two great marketers, and I'm sure they have a lot of wisdom they can share with us. So, isn't it a great idea when we just ask them a couple of questions? Does anyone have any questions? You can raise your hands before they even speak, so I can know that you're interested in asking a specific question. And let me introduce Dave. David Meltzer is the co-founder of Sports One Marketing, and he formerly served as the CEO of the Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment Agency. Can I say that right? Yeah. Which was the inspiration for the Jerry Maguire movie. His life mission is to empower 1 billion people, over 1 billion people, to be happy. And he just did that in the exhibit hall. And so it all, it's like a wave. This guy moves and people move. This simple yet powerful mission has led him on an incredible journey to provide one thing, and that's value. All this content and communication, that's exactly what you receive, and we'll demonstrate that shortly. He's a 3-time international best-selling author. He signed a bunch of books, but I know one. Did you guys get one? Okay, cool. So if we move closer and ask him questions, we might all get signed copies, right? He's the executive producer of the #1 digital business show, Elevator Pitch, and host of the top podcast called Playbook. He has a new book called Game Time Decision Making. Dave has been recognized by Variety magazine as their sports humanitarian of the year. He received the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, and most recently at the Super Bowl, David was honored as the most valuable philanthropist. So, hand of applause for David. So, I took a lot of pride in this conference being quality versus quantity. You know, you can go to a lot of conferences and see 10,000 people, a bunch of screaming kids. That's not where this is going to be. You got to go through 100 people to get to one solid person. This is very intimate. I've really enjoyed myself. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself. This was 4 months of hard work for me. This is all self-funded, because I'm very passionate about influence marketing. And so to me, I'm going to sit in on this session and soak in all the knowledge. I want to introduce Dan Fleyshman. But instead of me introducing Dan Fleyshman, I'll let David introduce Dan Fleyshman so they can have a conversation. Let's go down.
Yeah, well, I've been blessed because I've known Dan. We went to the same high school. Obviously, he graduated before I did. And we grew up in the same neighborhood, but I think the most remarkable thing is that Dan is a moron. He took his college fund. If anyone knows what it's like to grow up under the guise of Jewish guilt, he took his college savings and started his first company. He took it public in his early 20s. And I have been associated with Dan since he was daddy, all the way through Fit Energy, through Roratoriums, and probably 20 different entrepreneurial ventures. And somebody asked me today, how do you know when to quit? I said, there is no quit, it's just pivoting. And one of my greatest prides of my entire life is this kid, because I've been blessed to be a mentor and now be mentored by him, which is the greatest thing about this influencer marketing. Because when Gary Vaynerchuk told me that I had quality content, which I really didn't understand what he was talking about, and that I could be an influencer, which I really didn't want to be, but then he said to me, well, you can impact people in a big way, not just 1,000 people at a time on the stage. Dan was the first one that I called. And he's an innovator in a space that people don't understand, but most importantly, he understands gratitude, he understands forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. This guy makes room for everybody to be great. He's completely humble, which doesn't happen often for a man in his 30s. Trust me, I wish, if I had the humility this guy had, I'd be a billionaire instead of losing all my money in my 30s. So, you know, he does so much. If anyone needs help, just ask him. He knows more about this space than anyone. I think this is the perfect blend of a chat because I have a traditional sense of frequency and brand. We both share the same philosophies in life, same integrity, philanthropy, but most importantly, Dan has the future in mind and really understands where everything's going. I think together we make a dynamic duo. This is a duo. Anything I missed? Great husband.
The main thing for our questions today.
Cut you off already.
My day job is spend around $60 million with influencers to pay them for brands, products, and mobile apps. So that's our main focus. That's our day to day. So any questions that are influencer related, that's what I really want to dive into. Most of the time we do more entrepreneurial questions. I think we should really focus on social media, brand, influencer type questions because that's what we're living and breathing. Dave has turned on to become an influencer this last couple of years, making incredible content. But really just understanding why does the content matter? So elevator studios, we throw elevator nights, a free event for entrepreneurs. It costs us $100,000 a year, free for 6 years in a row. I wasted $1 million.
Not wasted, invested.
Keeping it free. But why? Besides the Robin Hood part of it, like having entrepreneurs there and investors meet entrepreneurs, they get funded, stuff happens like I like the emotional side. There's still a lot of video content that comes from it, a lot of relationships that come from it, and events like these that just keep parlaying your business and what happens for that community. So Dave going around speaking everywhere, me going around speaking everywhere, the content that we create, that turns into business. We don't necessarily know what it is though, right? Us speaking here today, the videos that we create, we'll make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos, whatever it is, let's call 5 videos. They might get 1,000 views, 10,000 views, or 300,000 views, we have no idea. It might get us 0 clients, 1 client, 15 clients, we have no idea. But we're putting ourselves in a position to get lucky. So I throw events, I speak at events, I post social media content, it takes a lot of time. Dave's posting content every single day, doing podcasts every single week. All that stuff adds up time-wise, which takes away from his core business, which is a large business. Takes away from it because he's theoretically gambling, right? If you put out 50 videos and one of them gets you Gatorade or Nike as a client, was the 50 videos and 200 hours worth it? Yes. But he doesn't know that there's a rainbow, right? They don't know how to go down the rainbow. We just know that if we keep doing it, eventually we're going to get lucky. So a lot of people think we get lucky. We didn't come from anywhere, right? I was working 3 jobs, saving money to make that college fund. I didn't have money. We made $24 grand a year for a family of 4 in LA. So to me, I know what it's like. So I just relentlessly working, relentlessly putting out content, hoping that it makes something. If it doesn't, I'm going to put out more content the next day, and more content the next day. So I have all these different seeds.
Yeah, I think Dan helped me understand from the traditional aspect of branding 2 things. One thing that's missing from most of the younger social influencers is quality content, right? So what's going to last, and this idea, I've named kind of what Dan's taught me into a stage theory, because my upbringing in the corporate world was to stand on stages, and I'd be thrilled just to have this audience here and just hopefully impact one of you and maybe get a little bit of business from this crowd in whatever way it is. But what I started realizing, everything that I did that was quality, that could inspire somebody or provide value to somebody, could be captured. And so then I go to Dan to tell me how to capture it for the different platforms, for different spectrums of people. So TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter, they all have a different audience and they all have to be captured differently. Then modification is a whole business. How do I modify my content so that Dan and I look the best that we can, and we take the golden nuggets so that we're picking the ones that get 500,000, not 5 views. And then from modification, it goes to amplification. So the amplification strategy is separate from everything. So how are we going to amplify this? Meaning, it's not just us that makes it happen, it's having an ambassadorship. Not a following, an ambassadorship. Knowing that there's an audience that no matter what quality content we have, we'll put it out to other people as well. And then finally, the thing that even Dan, this one came from me because I'm older, it's perpetuation of the content. There's certain platforms that are perpetual, so I have a 20-year plan, not only in building my ambassadorship, but in perpetuating my content. And the reason is that I'm old enough to know that whenever Bob Proctor speaks or puts up a quote on Voltaire for the 80th time, it moves me. because it's Bob Proctor, because I'm emotionally attached to how he changed my life and my mindset, that no matter what Bob Proctor does. And so I know that when Dan's my age, in 20 years or so, no matter what videos he's watching to remind himself of the lessons that I taught him early on in his career, it will move him. So I think it's really important for anyone, no matter what age you are, if you want to truly be a long-term player in this space, if you want to build an audience 2 people at a time, you need to learn how to capture, modify, amplify, and perpetuate quality content and consistently. It does not work once a week, right? It's every single day.
So I think the main thing that people are messing up with their content is they're making the content for themselves. They don't realize that, right, they need to make it for everybody here. If I make a content and I take 12 selfies in a row, you guys have no comments or likes for it because me posting 12 selfies in a row, it doesn't matter if I'm the hottest girl in the world or the buttest guy in the world, if I post 12 selfies in a row, there's just not that much for you guys to say anymore if I'm posting. Does that make sense? If I'm posting content to you about myself, what are you supposed to say on selfie number 11? Oh, hot, hot, fling emoji, fling emoji. There's nothing for you to do on post 11 or 24. You want these people around for years, you can't just be the hot guy or the hot girl, or you just can't post the most repetitive content, especially when it's just feeding your ego. Now, the same hot guy, or the same cool girl, or the same guy that does music production, or is a chef, or a beauty blogger, etc., them putting out content teaching about beauty, instead of showing how beautiful they are. Fitness guy posting about how he got buff, how he eats each day, what he drinks, why he drinks it. That content, now it's compelling. You have to think about it for yourself. If you're what you think is a boring job, it's not boring to us. Think about it. If I stood up here and did magic for you, it would be amazing to you, and to me, I did the same magic trick 600 times. That's what we think about for our content in our careers. If you're a real estate agent, you think it's boring because you've done real estate for 16 years. However, instead of just posting about some pretty house and saying, hey, come Sunday at 12 o'clock, come see my pretty house, my open house, make content about the house. How the remodel happened, why you should change the outdoor pool, why you should add a palm tree for $3,400, increase the price value by $11,000, why if you add nest and ring and all these electronics, you can do a tent package. Tent package increases the house by $15,000. This stuff only costs you $2,600. Now all of a sudden, Dave Meltzer wants to share your content, doesn't follow you, he's never going to go buy that house. But you made this cool thing about a tent package for $2,600, you can increase the value of the home by $15,000. Now Dave might organically just share it on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, you don't know. But if you made content that just said, hey, come buy my house on Sunday because I'm a real estate agent, you can pay Dave to post it. You really couldn't pay him to post it because it wouldn't make any sense for his followers. He's not braggable for that post. It just wouldn't make sense. But for free, the random real estate agent that he doesn't know, he just happens to follow, he might start sharing the content, and all of a sudden you got buyers that's not, maybe not him, but it's his 100,000 followers. The whole point is, make content for everybody else, not for yourself.
Right, and know your frequency. You don't talk about organic, authentic content. What that really means is your vibration, your frequency. So what happens is there's 3 things that really indicate your frequency. One is the power of your signal. And that is relative to what Dan's talking about. Is it compelling? Is it informational, inspiring? There has to be something to it. There's a reason why we want to watch somebody unwrap gifts. Right? There's a lot of people, because it has a frequency. It has a frequency, but it's marketed towards a spectrum, which is the second part of the frequency. The problem with social media, same with life, is when you try to please everyone, you please no one. And so as you create content, make sure that you're talking to a specific audience of the 4.2 billion people out there, because that frequency will be at a level. Remember, people can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than them. So sometimes, I'll give you an example. It might be boring to me. I did a video about cold calling, which is stuff that I taught in my 20s to sales reps. And I have this saying about cold calling that 80% of all calls aren't answered, by the way. And so one of the biggest wastes are people that don't know how to leave messages or compel people to call you back. So I did a video saying, look, first, when you call someone, know what you're going to say if they answer, which is to go ahead and stimulate interest. But more importantly, since 80% of your calls aren't answered, know what to say to get them to call you back. Because you have one goal on most phone calls, that's just to get someone to call you back. So I did this video that basically described what to me was when teaching the alphabet. It would have been the same video-wise if I said A, B, C in my mind, but it's probably the most valuable or most liked and commented video that I did. And it taught me a lesson. Strength of my signal, spectrum of my signal, who I'm talking to, and the clarity of my message. So many people, like you said, put out what they think people hear, but they don't. Lou Holtz is a football coach from Notre Dame, and he always said, it's not what I say, it's what they hear. And I think about that all the time when I'm reviewing the edited content from stuff that I'm looking at going, are people really gonna hear this? Because some of it I call Meltzerisms. It's like so far out there, the subconscious and conscious continuum, and I can see some 14-year-old going, fuck Dave Meltzer. Like, this is crazy shit.
So the other thing you want to think about is how you can mix up your content to keep it compelling. So if you post something boring, we are going to watch it. You're going to become the boy who cried wolf. Meaning, you just post the same thing over and over. When you post something boring and aren't teaching us anything, or making us laugh, or showing us something cool, we're not going to share it. We're not going to like or comment on it. But more importantly, we're not going to look next time. You're going to become the boy who cried wolf. If you make a bad post, like if you're in a nightclub and it's super dark, we can't see anything, I don't want to see your next video. I just don't. There's nothing for me to see. If you make a video starting here on the floor and then post up here, but for 4 seconds it was showing the floor, I'm not waiting 4 seconds to see what you're going to point at. You have to remember that now, not only did I skip over your 4 seconds on the floor before you showed me this cool, you might have had rainbows and unicorns and dragons. I'm never going to find out that I skipped it because you started off on the floor. Just show me the rainbows and dragons. I don't need to wait. Does that make sense? So what happens is, the next time I see your name come up on my Instagram stories, Twitter, Facebook, etc., I'm going to skip you before I find out if there's unicorn dragons. I'm not going to look because I remember the last time, 3 days ago, that I saw the floor first. So you have to think about boring content or what you think is unique and cool. It's not. You have to think about what somebody wants to see. If you don't want to see a dark room in a nightclub, don't post a dark room in a nightclub. If you don't want to see somebody's salad, you don't post your salad. You have to think about what you would want to see. You don't need to post just to post, please. So many times, if you see somebody with like 80 Instagram stories in a row, and you see 80 little dots, people are just going to skip your whole thing because it's too much content. It doesn't matter if your household name, Gary V, J-Lo, it doesn't matter who you are. If somebody has 80 posts in a row, we're just not going to look. We're going to select the whole thing, or skip through a few. And we're just going to... That's not what you want. You want us to be a part of your story. You want us to be a part of your world. That's the point of social media. It's not just media, it's social media.
Yeah, then also traditionally, I call it the Lee Steinberg effect. And the reason I do is I work with Lee Steinberg, who is the most notable sports agent of all time. They had the movie Jerry Maguire, but I used, as CEO of the company, I used to do all the work, right? Everybody knew who Lee was, but I'd run these meetings with senators and owners and for hours sitting there negotiating these contracts and going through everything. And literally, Lee would walk into the room and be like, and everybody in the room like, oh my God, he's so smart, he's such a genius. I was on stage at Denny's, and it was like a relapse because an hour and a half on the annual meeting for Denny's, 7,000 franchisees, and I'm working my butt off, and people like it. In fact, one of the biggest compliments I get off stage, and the producer at Mandalay Bay is like, hey, I've been here 30 years, that's one of the most inspiring speeches I've heard. And I'm feeling really great until Magic Johnson is on next, and he doesn't even step on the 30-yard stage. It's a flat room like this, but there's no way with 7,000 people I can stand down there, because only the first row would see me. He stands on the floor, and literally his first line was, I love pancakes, and the whole place erupts. Right? Like it's the funniest shit you've ever heard. I see the same thing happening on the internet. Right? There's a level of vibration and credibility that exists on the internet, so that Gary Vee, when he posts, something yelling at someone going, wake the fuck up, do this, that works because he's earned it over 13 years of building a brand. People are prepared, right? Magic Johnson deserves that. Lee Steinberg absolutely deserves that. And a great comedian may say the exact same joke as I say, but everyone will think it's hysterical because it's Kevin Hart. I think you have to realize that as an influencer, what level of following, of charisma, of energy that you're carrying, because you can't expect, why do people think that? Like I see it all the time. That's not so good. Why do people, why does that have 6 million views to it? That's stupid. Right? Has anyone ever seen something that's literally stupid? Well, it's because they deserve it. They literally have built that audience so that people can enjoy your stupidity when you miss or have a dark video, but you can't do it when you're building the audience.
So speaking of stupid 6 million views, let's talk about TikTok.
Please, I just started.
So what's fascinating about TikTok is it's the only social media platform in the world that's actually pushing you out there. They're like literally teaching you and showing you what to do for the algorithm and showing you the cheat code of what hashtags for the week, what contests for the week, what competitions for the week they want you to hashtag. So if you look, there's a little circle button, looks like kind of a magnifying glass, push that, and it shows this hashtag Mike Science has 400 million views this week. Hashtag cool microphone flip has 1.8 billion views. Like, what does cool microphone flip mean? What is that? And it just shows you little videos of people flipping over a microphone up in the air. Or like, that's it. It's showing you what the tricks are for the week. But then, when you make your video content, people are swearing that it's all kids. Right? Everybody, you say the word TikTok, they think it's all Casey Adams and 19. They're living and breathing there, and there's nobody else but Casey and 1.3 billion other friends that are 19. It's not how it works. There's not 1.3 billion children that have cell phones. It's great too. Is it a majority or a big portion that are children? Absolutely. What about if it's only 20 or 30% of 1.3 billion that are adults? What if it's just 20, 30%? We know what 30% of 1.3 billion is? It's 500 million humans. 500 million people that are not 19. You still want the kids anyways, but there are hundreds of millions of adults on there. Hundreds of millions. I had TikTok experts trying to tell me I need a dancing video and flip my shoes upside down and do all this crazy stuff. My business video that I post up there are getting 100 to 150,000 views per video. I only have 10,000 followers. That's the magic of TikTok. When I had 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 followers on there, small following, I was getting 30,000 to 80,000 views on my business videos. So while everybody's out there flipping their shoes upside down and doing cartwheels, I'm not saying don't do that. If it doesn't fit you, don't do that. I'm not asking you to change who you are. But if you're posting content on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, just think about some of the content that can live on there that's under 60 seconds. Give yourself a chance to get 180,000 views when you have a small following.
Yeah, I think that math is important in several different aspects, not just on TikTok, which I just started for that very reason. I started with time hacks, and they're doing really well, just teaching people how to utilize time, which I didn't think would work, and it's working extremely well. But the math, think about this. When I was younger, in order to do business or ask for help, if I asked someone, they would go to their card game, their country club, their church or temple, the chamber, right? If I asked you for help, you would have a very small circle to ask for help from or offer your help to. But what we don't understand number-wise, especially those of us that are a little bit older, is that every time I step on stage, it's 7 figures of people that are watching me. On all my platforms, there's at least 1 million people that are watch Dan and I do this. And that number doesn't even calculate, even though I'm in the business and I'm getting good at it, because I would look at that 4.2 billion and I tell people, my wife, who's extremely defensive and I have to keep her off of my feed, she's like, that person doesn't like what you said. They said you stole gratitude from Gary Vee or whatever smart comments people have. I always tell her, look, there's 4.2 billion. I don't care if 3.9 billion of them don't know who I am. Another billion of them hate me, think I'm the dumbest thing that ever was created. And if only 10% of what's left love me, my grandkids will never have to work. Right? Go watch my Fat Jewish podcast. This kid reverse engineered how to build an ambassadorship. He literally built an audience of 11 million people that loved him for who he was, which is this much of his audience, right? 11 million people is nothing, right? But he built it. Then he went to him and said, hey, what do you guys want to buy? And they said, rosé wine in a can, which he was not a big fan of himself, doesn't know anything about it, just sold his business to Anheuser-Busch for 100 million. Right? That's how the internet should be used. That's what, for me, and it doesn't have to be just monetary, but it could be for good, right? To plant, I always say plant seeds for trees I'll never sit under. I know that I love TikTok because time hacks, I'm changing some 14-year-old. If they're listening, and it might not be till they're 22, 25, or 45, then it's like, oh shit, Dave Meltzer told me to make my bed in the hotel room to give myself more room, lay everything out so you save at least 10 minutes. Like, you won't believe, you know that 80 hours on average, people waste 80 hours a year looking for things. So just giving someone a time hack, put shit in a place you remember, the same place, 80 hours, that's 10 days of productivity. You know how much money you can make? That's the kind of shit that literally works.
So the other thing to think about is, it's not always the followers that you have that are who you're selling to. What happens is, Dave might get 100,000 views on a TikTok video, and it's all kids. But the interesting thing about kids is, they have parents, they have aunts, they have uncles, they have older brothers, they have bosses, they have teachers. Lots of people that they could refer to Dave Meltzer's content. I'll give you an example. When we launched Dollar Beer Club, we had 11,800 team members the first 2 days. We spent this much money. You know how? We had all these beauty and makeup accounts posting about us on launch day. I don't know about you guys, I've never met a woman with a beard.
Greatest showman, that's the word.
These accounts are filled with millions and millions of women. So I started off literally marketing to women. Why? Because women have boyfriends, husbands, brothers, uncles, dads, grandparents, and other female friends that have brothers, boyfriends, dads, uncles that like beards. If their friend doesn't like a beard, they won't tag them. If their boyfriend doesn't have a beard, they won't tag them. They are only tagging our exact customer or a buying approach. I did not go and find a bunch of family man Instagram accounts and post on gun accounts and car accounts. No, I posted it to millions of women. So you have to think about with your content, it's not necessarily the person following you that's your customer. It might be their uncle or brother or aunt or sister. Just think about that when you're creating content.
And I think I'd like to take some questions for us if we give an opportunity. We'd love to tell you what we think, but more importantly, we'd love to know what you want to know. Anybody have a question? There you go.
First of all, great to see the two of you on stage together. It's fantastic. Quick question for you. We've got a generation of influencers now that are very socially conscious. They're talking about different issues that are important to them. Yet the majority of quality social impact or impact entertainment that's out there is brand driven. Do you see this changing now that the summer swell?
So what's interesting is, I'll give you an example. We have a company called Create Tribe, where we co-found clothing companies with influencers and celebrities. So we co-founded a brand called Talentless with Scott is in. Every single brand underneath Create Tribe, if you don't have a charity component or a social good component, we literally won't take it. I don't care how big of a name you are, I don't care how cool you are, if there isn't a charity component, and I'm not talking about 1%, no. If there's not a chunk going to charity, we don't do it. What's happening is, a lot of companies or a lot of people are doing like the 1%. And it's 1% of net, not gross. 1%. Somebody could say 10% of net. Net is an irrelevant number. It's an optional number that anybody can choose. We could do $10 million. Well, 10% of net could be $6 or $600,000, depending on how you do your numbers. We do everything based off gross sales and making sure that everybody is actually getting real checks and donate. The point of it is, I'd rather take it and actually have these influencers out there doing something than nothing. At least they're out there voicing it and talking about it and doing something, rather than 4 years ago when that wasn't even an option and you couldn't even bring up charity or donations for social good. So it's weird to say, I would at least rather them do something. So if they're only doing 1% or they never actually cut a check, which happens a lot, at least they're talking about it like, hey, I love the Elephant Foundation, or I love the Australian wildfires, or this situation, that situation. Not necessarily are they ever going to actually donate the check, or it might be very small, but at least they're talking about it, and hopefully inspiring other people to go donate a check.
And as a brand itself, the idea of impact has changed so much. I mean, it's changed my life mission. And I would tell you 10 years ago, my mission was to make over $1 billion. And I'm a math person, so I kept trying to connect the dots backwards, like Job said, to figure out, all right, I made over 100 million, how can I make over $1 billion? And I couldn't get there, which has always impressed me about Bezos, right? Being able to get there. But the motivation of this message of impact that worked for Lee Steinberg, who won't represent any athlete unless they gave a portion of their salaries to charity, it becomes a qualifier or a lens. right? Because of the discussion, but because of brands and individual brands, social brands, it becomes a qualifier for things. And it was a great qualifier for Lee. We knew if somebody wasn't willing to do that, they weren't gonna be a good client, right? They didn't have the same values we had, and eventually they would leave anyway. So it was a qualifier. I see it as a qualifier and as a catalyst, not only for the young people to how to live their life and to understand that everything comes through us for others, but to change the perspective of Bezos, who gave $10 billion to the environment. If it wasn't for social influence, Jeff Bezos never would have given $10 billion, or Warren Buffett donating Create the Billionaires Club to give all their money. So there's huge impact by the messaging and frequency of this. And I know Dan and I both, where we are aligned, we do everything through us for others. And we keep getting more and more. I always say I'm making room because I've changed my whole catalyst from instead of for me, through me. So I'm so motivated. I'm a huge capitalist. Nobody wants money more than me. Because I want to be just like Bezos. I want to write big checks and have huge impacts. You can like that guy or not, but he had an incredible impact on the whole world by stroking that check.
Hey, thank you guys for coming. What do you guys think the next paradigm is, right? We have TikTok happening. It's kind of like this thing where the youth is on it. It's short form content, right? And then we're seeing in kind of tech circles the movement of direct monetization of the audience and the influencer, right? Like, you guys are providing value, people are consuming that value, you're a publisher. What's the next paradigm post TikTok, right? Is it just going to be brand partnerships? There has to be a world where the influencer, the creator, is getting value directly from the audience, and it's not taken by the platforms that are middlemen.
Yeah, so that's why you've seen the last 2 years a lot of people utilizing Patreon and some of these other sites where people can donate $5 to $20 a month for the creators. You're going to see that more and more. There's a girl named Sarah Underwood who's funding her TV show called Cabin Land. She's out there living in the middle of nowhere in Oregon, and it's all donations from fans. No sponsors. People are donating $5, $10, $20 a month, and it's enough for her to do the production of all these shows and build these cabins in the middle of the forest. 3 years ago, how on earth would she have done that, right? Not possible. So there are going to be more platforms like Patreon that people can use that. There's some sites like OnlyFans, but that's not really a donation site. That's more whatever.
There was an attempt.
But Patreon is kind of the best platform that people understand why. The why is important, or why somebody's willing to contribute $5, $10, $20 a month, because that adds up. A fan doesn't follow one influencer, right? A fan doesn't follow just Sarah Underwood, or just Kylie Jenner, or just whatever. They're following 1,000 accounts, or 2,000 accounts. So at some point, there is a cap. They can only buy so much Jake Paul merch. They can only buy so many Kylie with kids. There's only so many times they can buy when they're following 1,000 different influencers, and they're obsessed with 40 of them. 40 times 5 or 10, $20 is too much money. So yes, inflection point has happened in the last year. There are a few other platforms that are cool and exciting. TikTok being skyrocket right now. I think Triller is really interesting. Triller is getting a ton of traction. Their music videos are fun. Yesterday they had Eminem posting this really amazing rap where he said like a zillion words a minute. People had to try to knock it off. There's certain brands like that that are actually getting music artists behind them. So there's just not that many. I can name all the main social media platforms on 2 hands. But there's actually hundreds and hundreds of social media platforms more. Hundreds. But we can only name the 2.
Yeah, I'm coming from the technology side of things in the handheld convergence side. One thing that has always been present is ubiquity. And people don't talk about it, about what that means. So ubiquitous society is one that has the same language. We can understand voice, and voice interacts with everything, which makes a really big difference. And so you think that 4.2 billion people, there's about 9 billion people on Earth, and it will be the greatest platform that's in the next decade will be a ubiquitous platform where we're speaking and self-translation. So I literally could just say, call Kishore Lula in India without a phone, right? This is ubiquitous. It will then either ring on a headset or insertable or replaceable, something that's built within us. And it will give him, in front of him, Dave Meltzer is calling from America, if you understand ubiquity, you become your own marketplace.
Exactly.
So this is why I keep pressing the younger people to have your frequency, because a frequency is just like go backwards to the radio station. If people are tuned in to Dave Meltzer, more people that are tuned in to Dave Meltzer, with ubiquity, they will buy and sell and trade and inspire in spirit connected to Dave Meltzer. And so you have to control your personal brand by developing your frequency, understanding your strength of the signal, the spectrum in which you want to hit, and the clarity of your message. Because in the next decade, TikTok, Instagram, they're just going to be part of the ubiquitous society where, you know, Dave Meltzer has his own inventory that I can draw from, because L'Oreal would rather keep in just their own warehouse instead of have some third-party logistics take it anywhere. And ubiquitously, people are like, dude, I dig your shoes, and Neiman Marcus just sells 100,000 pairs of these direct, and Dave Meltzer gets a certain portion of it, charity-wise, etc. So think, when you go home, the future is ubiquitous. Don't worry about these platforms. You can always modify, amplify, and perpetuate on all these platforms, but they're just going to be a smaller portion of the ubiquitous platform that you'll be. Dave Meltzer will be Instagram, right? It's already starting with a channel, but it's nothing compared to the acceleration and growth we see in this technology.
So back to the cost-based marketing, cost-based growth stuff that everybody wants to buy. I get it, I don't buy it. But the complex products they have, especially when they market it that way, essentially to me on the one hand, it does look like a gimmick, and it's not only a gimmick, but they're not necessarily providing a product and service, they're using the cause and right on that way to market. To me, essentially, they're the ones profiting off the cause, as opposed to creating a good product or service. How do you deal?
So it's tough. The question essentially was, what do you do about cause marketing when the product is essentially just utilizing the charity to get more marketing? I'll give you an example. Target donated $1 million during the situation last year. Target spent $38 million marketing that. We still want the $1 million to go to the charity, right? So it's a tough scenario. Like, it's weird, it's awkward. Like, I don't like the fact that they spent $38 million about their $1 million donation, bought TV ads all over the planet, bought magazine ads, newspaper ads, ran a ton of press about the $1 million check that they could have donated $2 million, or $5 million, or $10 million, or $20 million, out of $38 million plus one, right? But ultimately, if you ask the charity, would they still take $1 million over zero? It's like an awkward thing, right? Like, it's the evil empire. Like, I can't believe they spent $38 million marketing that $1 million donation, but we still want the $1 million donation. So we're torn, right, as a society. And for you, you're like, well, I don't know if I want to shop at Target. I don't want to support them for doing that. But they're going to donate $1 million over and over and over and over to lots of other charities, hopefully. So do we want it? I think we do. So I guess the best thing is it's hard for you to call out a company if they're actually donating. Now listen, if Target donated zero and spent $39 million and pretended to donate like some brands do, products do, then of course you get called out because they're effectively lying and they're trying to sell you something that they didn't follow through on. But if somebody still donates a portion and they're marketing it out there into the world about donating to charity and expanding on a cause, it's the greater good in that scenario is $1 million still happening in the market.
Well, I think with cause marketing, it's just a mindset, right? I look at things to find the light, love, and the lessons in them, and like anything else, it's just a variable of complex issues that you get your own personal choice with. So whether or not people are just going to buy a Target no matter what, which there's a whole portion, or whether people that will only buy from cause, supposed cause, or maybe there's people that have time to do their due diligence and they'll only give to companies that give a certain portion, right, and don't do the marketing. That's the ubiquitous happiness of what we live in, right? This is your choice. Right? Other countries and places around the world, they don't even have that decision. You have that ability to determine where you want to spend your money, and you also cannot buy anything and give it all away. So, you know, I believe in a unanimous hypocrisy, meaning that you have to accept the fact that we're all hypocrites. Is to what degree do you want to align with the hypocrisy that it best suits you? Because the truth, we're all pursuing. It doesn't exist. We can't live within, and I can, as a lawyer, I've got a great lawyer over there, we can pick apart anything. Right? I can go ahead and, there's too many laws, regulations, liabilities, responsibilities that exist in all decision-making in commerce, that you're in the woo-woo world if you believe that you can't pick apart and discredit anybody or anything. But instead, why not change your mindset to find the life, love, and lessons of what you want to learn, what you want to support, and forgive the parts that are human, right, the ego-based conscious part, and then move forward. I think there's too much energy that's spent on, this type of critical analysis of what's going on, right? We were better off using our energy and focus for the light, the love, and the lessons in it, and utilize our freedom of choice. And I think politically, socioeconomically, this is a trend that separates us. Just because I know we're ending in 1 minute, I talked earlier, there's this unbelievable research I saw from Stanford with kids. They're trying to figure out what they would vote for. These were kids under 15 years old, what they would vote for in a president, astronomically, percentage-wise, all of them wanted unification as their number one thing, right? This is the type of questioning and scrutiny. We have to protect ourselves, but we also have to have a mindset to find the positive in each other. And my problem in politics today is when I was young, I could sit with my friends that had differing views, and we would discuss it and like each other and be fine with it. And today, it's creating a separation. And so, there's my 2 cents on that. One more question?
So I have a question for Dan. Dan, you grew in influencer marketing. Love just had a session where he talked about Influencers IQ, which is a certification and training program. I guess it's attempted to create some type of order and structure to what it takes to be an influencer. Do you think that is something that's needed in this space where influencers go through some type of training, at least to understand the legal rules of the game? And is that something you would endorse?
Yes, so influencers desperately need advice and training because there's no way giving them a path. Imagine playing a video game. You just go into the video game, you're playing Super Mario, and all these levels. You're running around, there's a level, here there's a box, you're an influencer. You didn't know that there's actually a secret button here. This actually box goes away, you don't have to jump over it, you can walk around there. Then you get here, you could jump on this chair, but the secret button here, this goes away. And then you get to the Grandmaster. Now you're about to fight the Grandmaster. There's a big difference, the Grandmaster being the FTC or the SEC that can take you down, right? The FTC is like, okay, you're about to mess up. Or somebody tells you the cheat code. Somebody like that says, by the way, hashtag ad, bulk fold, make sure it's not here. You vanquish the FTC. You go. We just don't learn this stuff because we never played the video game. All these influencers are brand new. It's not their fault. Who was going to teach them? There's no forefathers of influencer marketing.
Gary V.
How much time we got?
Any more questions? Okay, we'll take 3 more questions.
So how I manage time, number 1, I put my intention on time. And then I put my intention in it to create the coincidences I want. So I'm a student of time. 3 ways to change time. 1 is to be more productive, accessible, and gracious with your time. So that's the first. So I'm studying my time of how productive. So when I started working, people asked me how I made $1 million out of law school. I knew that most people on average were 8 hours of productivity. I wanted to figure out how I could have 16 hours of productivity. Right? Because now every day becomes 2. Then creating systems for efficiency, and that efficiency is so from brushing my teeth to taking the trash out to putting things in the exact same places. Being a little OCD helped me with this, but in actuality, I kill it. Like, and I know this sounds silly, but my minutes have added up to weeks, months, and years. When I made $1 million out of law school, my comp plan was 250. I was twice as efficient, twice as effective, and twice as statistically successful through this methodology. So when they're like, here's an award for killing your comp plan, I was like, that's not true because I work 64 hours per, I had activity I got paid for 64 hours a day. And so when you study time, your time, by your values, right? I call it being a student in my calendar, and I segregate it by 3 things. What I have planned, in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, and social. The white space in my calendar, I study with fervor the white space, how productive and accessible and gracious I can be. And then I study sleep, making sure that not only is my body rejuvenated, but I'm clearing the connection subconsciously and unconsciously to the source that I believe in, the source of power, light, love, energy, wisdom. So when I'm waking up in the morning at 4 a.m., I have more energy to make me more productive, more accessible. Accessibility is a duality. It means accessing what you want as well as being accessible to others. It's creating a flow. And then gratitude obviously gives me this get to do, not got to do, a try me, not why me, all the positive glass half full type of conditioning. Everything's a practice to me. But time, it is the greatest thing to study, and you can change. People, it's not just the video showing me everywhere, I am. And I will beat you with time.
Have you addressed your do it now?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, people used to say stay present, and it bothered me because there wasn't a very spiritual person. I'm like, what do you mean present? I'm here. Do it now makes me present. So I ask myself simply with everything that goes on in my life quickly, can I do it now? If I can do it now, I do it. Because it saves me at least twice as much time and makes me at least twice as statistically successful. So many people, 100% of the things that you do now get done. Just consider that math. Right? 100% of the things you do now get done. Most people don't get shit done. Right? There's tons of guys making money out there going, just get 5 things done, and Andy Frisell, I love, right? Andy, I do 5 things, I'm done for the day. Why? Because you do 5 more things than most people do. Literally. So I get shit done because I do it now. If I don't do it now, I have a repository where I segregate what I can't do now by what's important, prioritizing that. And then in the student in the calendar, I'm always scheduling to go through my do it now list to get more shit done. And I start with what's most important. I don't let urgency defer me from what's important by my values. People ask me, what's important? Know your personal experiential giving and receiving values every day. Let them change every day, but go and give yourself an inventory. The most successful people on earth, people who make the decisions the quickest, know their values. Why? If I know my values, I know whether I want to hang out with you or not. I know whether I want to do business with you or not. And I know whether it's aligned, a business opportunity or a personal opportunity. I know it's aligned with what I believe in, like this. There's no wavering. It just gets done. Do things now, you will be just exponentially more productive, accessible, and gracious in everything you do.
Looking at the broadcasting world of podcasting and radio, as an influencer and as the broadcasting world develops and grows more into more of the digital, what social media platforms do you feel are the most useful for that goal?
There isn't a single social media platform of the top 8 that you shouldn't be on. So it's what I always talk about, is repurposing content and being omnipresent. So if you have a podcast, I always look at Casey Adams, because he built up a podcast when he was a baby.
Still a baby.
1 year later, he's got Andy Frisell, Gary Vaynerchuk, Larry King, all these people on his
Dave Meltzer.
podcast. Dave Meltzer. So the point is, he's on every platform. He's crushing on TikTok, but he still has LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You have to be on all of the platforms because you don't know where the views are going to come from. You may not care about Twitter because you're like, that's just for Donald Trump to yell on. I don't go on Twitter. Well, what if you got 400 extra views on Twitter on your podcast? And then those 400 refer their friends, and like 20 of them become avid. They start posting about you, and then one of them is me, and I'm posting about you, and now you get 84,000 views. You don't know. You don't know about any part of this trickling happening because you need Twitter. You think it's useless. You want to be on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok.
And text. I mean, Gary and I are blessed to have community, and it's the most powerful thing I have because it's 100% open rate.
You want to be on all of them, right? If you're making your content for one main platform. If you love Instagram, make it for that. If you're a YouTuber, make it for that. But you want to repurpose that content on every other platform because every other platform is free. It's free. It takes you an extra 24 seconds to post on each and every other platform. you want to get that extra 400 views on Twitter, 621 views you get from Facebook, even if you don't think you're 10,000 from this, you still want 400 views from there.
Is there one tool that you use that is beneficial for all platforms?
So there are third-party platforms, I don't use them in case they get hacked.
Me too.
So there's some amazing third-party platforms out there. They probably won't get hacked, but Sony got hacked, banks get hacked, NASA got hacked, the FBI got hacked. So, yeah, I don't want to gamble on my social media accounts because that's part of my life and my business and my world and my charity. I don't give out my password. And so these third-party platforms, there's some really great ones. I just don't want to gamble like that. And the extra 24 seconds it takes to go post directly to Twitter or to Instagram or to Facebook, just not worth the risk of doing.
Well, yeah, you want to modify for each one, right? Like you said, I think that's the key is the stage theory. Just think about creating quality content, whether it's a podcast, a movie, a short video. Create your quality, a quote. Create your quality content, and then add it in or modify it, amplify it, and perpetuate it. I started doing cartoons, right? So I have these great sayings, so I just created another modification of a saying. And the funniest thing, like I love that, say thank you when you get out of bed and thank you when you go to bed. Everyone that knows me, right, the easiest way to change your life. It is okay online. I did a cartoon yesterday and it just killed me. Same thing I've been saying for 10 years, on stages, on the radio, on TV, on media, but I found something that works a lot better. People love the cartoon.
Last question?
Not.
The question is, as a plant-based nutrition company, what's the best platform for return on ad spend? Facebook crushes everything. Facebook is the most magical platform in the world. You can test it out with $20 or $50 or $100. It won't even let you waste money on Facebook. Like it has a little slide where it's like, oh, you can slide up to $350. It won't let you pull out some black card and spend $15,000. They're just not even an option. You got to spend $350, then $1,000, then $2,000. They want you forever. They don't want your 10, 15 grand once. They want you forever. Every day, forever, because they're never going anywhere. Nobody's ever going to buy Facebook. They're too rich. Zuckerberg's too young. And everybody that's even like coming near him, he just buys them or shuts them down. You guys remember a company called Snapchat? Neither do I.
All right, Ish.
Okay, so this is the fun part. Can we give them a round of applause? I got into influence marketing almost by chance, and I lost